Good day, everyone, and welcome to Top 5. I am your host, Lee, and with me I have my friend, my buddy, my pal, my favorite co-host, Jason. What's going on, Jason? How are you, sir?
I'm great, man. I'm great. I'm really excited about this episode. I really am. I've been waiting for this one.
Yeah, man, it's a little bit of a for guys who've been watching us now for a while. We've been doing a lot of top five, giving you our favorite lists of different genres and things like that. Today, we're going to dive into just one specific series that we both watched and really enjoyed. It's called Them. We're going to give you our recap and our review of it. It was 10 episode series on Amazon Prime, and man, it's
Amazing.
what do you think, Jason? Yeah.
Amazing. For me, it came from somebody that a writer and director that I personally hadn't heard of. And after watching the first few episodes, I was like, hey, this guy, he didn't just get his foot in the door. He kicked that door open, man, busted it off the hinges, walked in like he owned that house. And now it's his house, man. I'm really excited to see what else he's going to bring. I really am, man. I put his name up there already with like Stephen King and Wes Craven and
Wow.
the greats. I really did, man. I enjoyed this movie. It was scary. It had paranormal activities happening in it. It had oh man, the racism really got me, but I understand. I understand why he put it in there. The writing, the way it was done, and it really is. There are several scenes that are hard to watch as a person. Personally, it was hard for
Right.
me to watch.
Yeah, man, it definitely was. And let's give the audience, for those who haven't seen it, we'll give you a quick just synopsis of what the show's even
Sure.
about. Basically, it takes place during the 50s. It is during the Great Migration is what they called it. It's when African Americans were basically fleeing the South, going west, looking for just a better life. Obviously, I mean, we all know that the South wasn't the best place for an African American back in the 50s. But I guess and they were
Or the
fleeing over to
40s
California.
or the
But guess what?
30s or the 20s
Yeah,
or
or really, or shoot, some
yeah,
might even say,
60s
anyway.
or 70s.
Yeah, but no, I mean, and unfortunately, what they found in a lot of ways that they weren't really all they were running to was just a different setting, but same kind of problems in some ways. I mean, and so this family is running over there, and they've kind of met with, they're moving to a new neighborhood, and they're just met with straight hardcore racism. They don't want any African Americans in their neighborhood. And unfortunately, they've also moved into what appears to be a haunted house. So,
Let's
or just a haunted territory, I guess.
let's talk about the area they moved to, which right from the beginning I was like, wait, what? Because it was an upscale neighborhood, predominantly white, Compton. And I was like, wait a minute, what? Compton? You know, and it was like this. It was, they're moving from what was Carolina, right? North Carolina was where they moved from,
Yeah, I believe it
and they were
was.
going to
Yep.
California to this great neighborhood, Compton. And I was like, huh, Compton.
Well, it's interesting enough, and it's kind of funny. I mean, this show it's a horror show. It's a horror show, and like the quick synopsis we gave, it takes place in the 50s, so there obviously there's racism and the supernatural occurrences going on as well. But they're also based on this real life. They actually gave you a quick dive. You brought it up,
Yeah,
in Compton. That's kind of they showed you exactly how Compton kind of became the way it is now. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Or how it was in the 80s and the early 90s. I don't think it's nearly as bad as it was, it is now as it was then. But it's just the bad deals that these African Americans were getting on these houses, and
Gives
then
you
they knew.
a true history lesson that we learned during it too. I mean, just to know
Yeah,
how,
yeah,
but it's
how it all went down.
yeah,
Yeah, but no, that the Compton used to be the upscale neighborhood, and then it's unfortunately coming to what it is now. But man, the show itself was just I didn't know what to expect when I very first watched it. But Jason, you said a lot of the good things here in the very beginning. It was scary. I mean, it was scary at times, really terrifying. I felt sometimes that the more terrifying things were actually happening in the everyday occurrences.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? As opposed to the supernatural stuff at times. I mean, really, supernatural stuff seemed to be peripheral a lot of the times.
Well, it's bad enough what they had to deal with in the real world, but then you have the crazy stuff that's going on too. And they all, well, the husband and the wife, they had their personal demons they were battling too. 'Cause he was coming back from Vietnam, or I mean, from
Yes.
World War II. I'm sorry. And of course, she had from the beginning of the first episode until the last minute of the 10th episode. It's just the tension is there. It was, it's stressful to watch some parts. It has gore in it. It has paranormal. It has just everyday occur. It's a great series, great writing, man. It really was.
Yeah, it was, and had a great cast of characters in there as well. We had Deborah Irende, I hope I'm saying that correctly, who played Lucky. She was the mother of the matriarch of the family. Ashley Thomas, played Henry Emery. He was the patriarch of the family, the father of the family. Then we had the two little girls that made up the family.
Mhm.
One of the girls, the oldest girl, actually had got her feet wet in another horror film called Us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that Jordan Peele did. So it's kind of funny. The two horror films that she's done were also kind of social commentaries as well.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I,
Yeah.
I will say that
Um,
she was the only one other than another character, the tap dance man, who was my personal favorite character in the whole movie. Um, Other than him, because most of the actors had done um, roles here or there, especially like the tap dance man was in all kinds of TV shows throughout his career. And I think this is what he's going to be known for. It kind of reminded me like Sid Haig, that was in Houses of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's
yes.
Rejects, did so many different B-roll horror movies throughout his career. But if you think of him, you think of Captain Spaulding. And I think that's how this actor is going to be known, as the tap dance man, which I would love. I do my Forest of Fear, and I have all of
Yeah.
these horror icons. Well, of course, Captain Spaulding, but I have all of them: the Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, anything, Jeepers Creepers, all of them. I would love to add him to my Forest of Fear, but I don't know if I can, to be honest with you.
I was gonna say, Jason, I don't know, bro. I don't know.
What
That's a good
if you
idea.
come in? If you come and play the tap dance man,
Oh no, I could do that. I could not do that. I could not
I don't
play
think I
the
can
tap
do it,
dance
man.
man. Oh man, no, I don't think that would be a good idea.
No,
No, but it was good. One of the ladies, one of the antagonists, I guess, was played by somebody who is pretty recognizable, Alison Pill.
yeah,
She's been in a lot of different things.
American Horror Story.
Newsroom, American Horror Story. Yeah, she was in
Mhm.
Cult,
Yeah,
specifically that season, and maybe more, but I'm not sure. I think maybe just that one. But it was interesting that she was in there also, and had kind of done this because what this guys is going to be, what them is going to be, guys, is an anthology series. It's been announced, so it's going to be kind of like an American Horror Story,
awesome.
where each season is going to be different. I don't know if I'm going to use the same or not characters, but cast or
Yeah,
what. But there's going to be, it's going to be them. And for instance, like this now is known as them Covenant. You know,
right.
um, the show is known as Covenant now, so we'll get multiple seasons of it. It's been the number one show on Amazon Prime now for a number
Yeah.
of weeks.
Hey, I'm
I'm
telling
kind of
you,
it's been out for like 3 weeks.
if you like horror movies, if you like paranormal movies, if you like strong black lead movies, uh, if you don't have Amazon Prime, get it, because this is a great series, man. It really is. It really had even me. There was several parts that I was like, oh man, don't. Even just scary, man. It was scary.
So guys, this is going to be a little bit of a spoiler fill. We should have given you guys that a little bit because I've got to say one thing though. I mean, I thought the show was great. I did. I enjoyed it. The ride was incredible. I don't know if I'm a big fan of the ending, to be honest with you. I think the ending was, to me, for multiple characters, a little weak. I brought up Alison Pill's character here a little bit ago, and
Yeah.
I don't know. We'd also be remiss to say that we've got another guy who ran in multiple seasons of another horror show, HBO horror show, True Blood. Jason Stackhouse was in this. Ryan Quanten uh, played the milkman. So,
Mm.
his character. Did you watch True Blood, by the way?
Yeah, late at night when, a little, a little bit.
Okay, a little bit, not a lot. All right, but
Certain scenes.
this guy, I didn't even, I knew his name and I saw his name pop up, and I kept waiting for, I was like, oh, Jason Stackhouse is in this. But he was actually in a couple scenes before, like his character had been in a couple episodes before, and I remember thinking, I wonder where Jason Stackhouse or Ryan Quanten, is his name. I wonder when he's going to show up. My point is, he was so unrecognizable to me. I did not know he'd already been in. The character had already been in. The actor had already been in the show once or twice, and I still found myself thinking, "Oh, I wonder when this guy's going to pop up." He looks so
No,
different. I don't
he
know if
did
he's
look
been
different.
sick
And
or what. I mean, really skinny in the face, or what was going on with him? But
well, the first scene, they just show him walking up the sidewalk, and you remember all the housewives were like, "Oh, check him
yeah,
out," and I'm like, "Who, that guy? The milkman?" Like,
yeah.
man.
But Jason Stackhouse was supposed to be the hot dude back in the day in True Blood. He was getting all the
Yeah.
girls and stuff like that. I'm just saying he just didn't. I don't know if it's been a number of years or what, or if he's been sick, but he just looked really skinny in the face to me. He didn't look the same.
Do you think his character will come back in one of the next seasons?
Well, see, I don't know. Maybe because he
Well, it
he
probably
was
won't
he's a
take.
pretty well known name, a pretty well known name. Now, if they
Yeah.
do, if this goes on to become like American Horror Story, which was we were also told in the beginning was going to be individual seasons that were not connected, that had nothing to do with each other,
Oh yeah.
then and then I think season 3 or 4, I think season 4 actually is when it became, which was the Freak Show, is when that started to they started to reference other characters from
Yeah.
different thing, and they had this one of the characters from Asylum come on and cross over, and then I was like, oh shoot, now every season's connected. You know what I mean? It's all happens
Yeah,
in
it was
one
almost like little
huge.
Easter eggs popping up here or there that they may be, and then it was pretty obvious after a
Oh,
while that they were connected.
yeah. I mean, they've had characters cross over from different seasons and all kinds of different things. But my point is, if they do that with them, then maybe if later on that you find out that the seasons are intertwined, maybe he could come back, because this crazy dude is still running around out there. I
Yeah.
just think the ending was a little whack, especially for her. I hate that Alison Pill's character, who played Betty, you know, I thought she was an interesting character. Well, first you hate her. You hate this
Yeah.
character. She's
Yeah.
just so mean and so evil and so racist. But then as the show goes on, you kind of uncover, not you get a little, I guess you get a little sympathy for her, because it comes to find out she's been molested by her father. She almost goes as far as to
Again.
get molested by him again, just so she can
Yeah.
get out of there and be away from the black people that have moved into the neighborhood, so she can give them some money. But my point is, you uncover that, you get a little sympathy for her, but it's, you still want to see her get her come up.
Yeah. It
I mean,
wasn't
not
that
the
much
way it
sympathy.
happened. Yeah,
I
no,
still
not that
wanted to
much
get it,
sympathy.
but
Yeah, I want her
I
to get
didn't.
comeuppance too, but go ahead.
I didn't want her to get taken. Or daggone it, I don't want to. If people haven't seen it, but
Oh,
I wish the way she had gone off the show had been done a different way. I'll leave it like that.
yes, I agree
I wish
100%
she
with
had
what you're
gone off
saying.
the show in the neighborhood instead
Yeah,
of out on the
yes.
farm.
Let Lucky and her
Yeah,
have a conversation.
yeah, yeah,
Let Lucky and Betty have a conversation.
exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
but just that, and just the way it ended for the family, I think, because
yeah. What
again,
kind
with
of
no
life are
sport,
they going to have leaving there?
exactly. We will not much. Everybody saw them do a lot of stuff. You know what I mean?
I will say, and I'll agree with you there. I will agree with you. And the part that bothered me, was, and I'll throw this spoiler alert up there real quick, is when in that last episode when all the flames come up out of the ground on the outside. I was like, well, I don't think they should have done that. I think that you didn't need that. It really didn't need that.
Right.
I also the see, here we go, getting into spoilers, and I'm just going to flash spoilers up in front of the show. That's all it is to it, because there's no way that Lucky could have escaped that fast from that hospital. No way.
Yeah.
I mean, even for back then, it was happening. I guess everything progressed
Well,
so fast from the time she was put in to, oh, now we're going to lobotomize you. I was like, dang on, that was quick, man. She only
well,
talked back like one time.
but I think that goes to show you, though, that I was also during the 50s and African Americans didn't have any rights. Really, I
Uh,
mean, that so to speak, you know what I
yeah,
mean? If
I'd say
they're
that.
institutionalized, and if they're institutionalized like that, for instance, and then they're under the care of a lady who was doing all of this for their own good, but really, I think she was just lobotomized. I think she was racist herself and was just
Oh,
lobotomizing African American women just so she
sure.
could. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Just so she could. That was the way that she was giving them their comeuppance, you know?
Yeah. Test
Um,
specimens. That's all.
yeah, exactly. So I think though what helped her is that, she had that security guard in her. He knew
Yeah.
that what was going on
He's
and that
just
was
like,
probably wrong. And he was like, you do you, and good luck,
I,
probably. He was happy to probably see her
I
go.
think, I think it really,
He was an African American security guard, guys, by the way. That's why he was so cool with
I think
it.
you mean it wasn't Dale or Tucker?
It wasn't.
Wasn't one of them? I think that when she got put in the mental institute or the hospital, I think they probably could have ended that season right there with her going in, and then start on the next season and have her in there for, I know they were doing this in 10 days. It was supposed to be 10 days altogether that they were
Right.
there, which totally threw the 28 days that the Lutz were in the Amityville horror house way out the window. It was like, oh, it took you guys 28 days. We got out in 10, man.
Right.
But no, I think that I was, because I binge watched it, so I really didn't know which episode I was on towards the end, and I was just like waiting for another episode to start, waiting and waiting, and they did. But I think that could have been a good time to stop it when she got put into the asylum or the hospital. Just
Mhm.
stopped it there, and then start next season. You have her where she's in there for a few days, then she could have get out, escape or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe if they were planning on multiple seasons, maybe they would have been able to do that, but it was such an encapsulated,
Sure. Well, they probably
run.
said we'll give you 10 episodes. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? So now he's got to squeeze it into 10 episodes. He probably had the first 5 or 6 already in mind. You know
right.
what I mean? I know where I want to go with this. And by the time he got to the last couple, it was probably just, I got to get these in. I got to get it finished. And I
Right.
mean, it's still good, but it probably could have been handled a little bit better towards the end. But yeah, it
Yeah,
was,
I think the end was the weakest part for me. Because it just, I mean, if you're going to throw spoilers up there, then I guess we could just talk
have
about it.
to. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I just said, like, the family is going nowhere after this. I mean, their lives are ruined.
no,
It's not like they get to leave the neighborhood and just move out and be okay. I mean, the whole neighborhood saw this African American man in the 50s shoot this white dude in the street, even though he just tried to lynch him in the basement,
mm-hmm.
in his own basement, in front of his children. And who knew he was probably going to kill the Carols afterwards? I mean, he wasn't going to let them live. So even though all that happened, he was just the man just protecting his family. He's going to go to jail. You know what I mean? The wife who just escaped out of an institution is
Yeah, she's
also going
going
to
to.
go to jail. The daughter who killed the man with an axe, even though she was trying to kill her father, she's going to juvie somewhere or whatever.
Well,
And the poor little
in
girl
real
is
life,
going to
he would have.
foster.
Yeah, in real life, he wouldn't have made it off of the front porch. He would have been shot right there.
Yeah,
I think the
exactly.
police would have just shot him right there as soon as he came out the door. It
Yeah,
would have
and with
been
his
done.
family or not. So I don't like I don't like that end of it. You know what I mean? It's because it's pretty much they're done. I mean, they're not gonna, even though it was a good moment for them to finally beat that spirit and come out, they were a family again. You know what I mean? That's what that showed them as a solid unit. And there's nowhere for them to go after this. You know what I mean? They beat the spirits, but they're not gonna beat being an African American in the 50s and
No,
everything that
although
they saw happen to them.
I mean, it is still the 50s, and all you got is a CB radio. I mean, there's no social media. Maybe they could like go out, somewhere in Midwest or something, and just like change their names
Maybe.
or. Yeah.
Maybe. I feel like those two cops who had the guns pulled on them when they came out probably weren't going to be so
No,
easy
that's what I
to.
say. I think as soon as he came out, the police would have shot him right there. I think that would have been done
Yeah.
deal.
No, but so you brought up the tap dance man. I think we need to take a moment and talk about him.
Oh
Um,
man.
he was a creepy character, and even during the trailer that I watched before the show started, I remember I kept waiting for this one scene where he's kind of like in the trailer. They show him like kind of coming out of the corner of the what you gonna do, what you
Yeah.
gonna do. you
Yeah.
know, he kept saying that
Yeah.
to him. Basically he's like this personality of Henry. You know what I mean? That's kind of like
The
trolling him
antagonizer.
and yeah, and getting him to do these crazy things. Um, but it didn't come into like that's like the last 10 minutes of or 7 minutes of the whole
Of
show. You know what
course.
I mean? Him
Save
coming out
save
of
the
that
best for
corner.
last.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, when he was just a creepy character, just a very creepy character, and I think he will become. I don't know how, but I think he is a horror icon now. You know
He
what I
is.
mean? But I think people have to be very careful if they're playing this dude.
That's why, I was telling my wife about it, and she's like, no. Because I would love to add him into my force of fear.
Of course,
I,
he is a horror
I'm
icon. He,
he's
he deserves
creepy,
his place up there
but
with everybody else.
a white dude is not going to put a black face character out in his yard.
Yes,
I'm not doing it.
yes, yeah.
Nope.
He's like from an old minstrel show, guys. If you guys haven't seen it yet, just so you know exactly what we mean. That's like he's like a minstrel, with a black face and all that. Which we
Yeah.
know is not
I
cool.
love the Peach story. The way he
Oh my,
told the Peach story was awesome, man.
yeah.
And very realistic. I'm sure that stuff like that happened all the time.
Oh my
Eh,
gosh, yes.
You
I mean, I
know,
was talking to my cousin about this the other day, and she said, you know, I think for most people, it's their favorite character. Like you just mentioned it. She had told me that the other day. Um, but he was just so crazy in all the wrong ways, and
yeah,
funny in all the wrong ways. You know what I mean? Just it
yeah,
was, but he is going to be a horror icon now. But we just haven't even talked about it. And maybe we shouldn't because it's so hard to discuss. Really, what's driving this family to move out west in the very beginning to begin with.
mm,
Um, I'll tell you what, it was very hard. My wife and I watched this together, and when she after that episode ended, she was like, "Why are we watching this?" You know what I mean? Luckily it was also one of the shortest episodes too of the whole series. I don't know if you noticed
yeah,
that.
yeah. But then they
Yeah,
kind
it
of
was like
showed it in full in one of the later episodes, kind of like they started that from the beginning again, and they showed you exactly what happened. And I
yeah,
think I talked to you. You watched the first episode, and then I upped you by watching two of them, like on the
yeah,
job site. Um, but and then I let you know that, and I told you that I had to pause this show, and I did through almost every episode. I had to pause the show and take a minute, man, because it bothered me so much to just to see the way that they were treated. You know
yeah.
what I mean? This family, to see the way that they were treated, and to know that that's true.
Mhm.
You know me, I love horror movies. The more realistic they are, the more I love them. And man, this one just it bothered me, man. So many scenes in this movie bothered me just because I knew that this wasn't just an act. This stuff was happening in that time, and still to this day. And
Yeah,
you know, it was hard to watch, man. And oh my gosh, man. I mean, just four words:
cat in the bag.
cat in the bag. Yeah.
Cat in the bag. Cat in the bag. Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then the little
Um,
girl started saying it like out of nowhere, and you know what
yeah,
that reminded me of? That scene reminded me of? It reminded me of it, where Georgie was down in the cellar, and he started saying, "You'll float too, you'll float too," and it reminded me
yep,
so much of that. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's that little girl is an awesome actress, man."
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
She definitely was. She definitely was. Um, what is her name? Melody Hurd. I don't know. I haven't really seen her in anything before. But no, she was a great little actress, and she'll probably go do some big things. But she
Yeah.
she
Was
she
she like
pulled a
four
lot
or
of hard
five,
material.
something like
And
that?
so I think
Five.
she's probably a little older than that, probably maybe
Okay.
6 or 7. But she what pulled some difficult stuff off, just such a young girl.
Yeah. And the older sister too. And I knew I'd seen the older sister in something, and it took me a minute to realize that she was in Us
Mhm.
also. So, but yeah, she did a great job. It was great acting all around, man. Everybody did a phenomenal job, man. The
Yeah,
aunt that Lucky went over to his aunt's house, and and could be herself there. You know what I mean? And didn't have to worry about anything. Didn't have to worry about these crazy neighbors. And
yeah,
it was, that was like a happy point in the movie. She got to be her around family, and she hadn't told them about her son, what had happened to her
yeah.
son. So
Yeah, and that's you meet this family, and in the very beginning of the show, you meet this family, and you could tell that they all love each other. They definitely
yeah,
do. And you don't quite know. You think they're just going to something. You don't know that they're running from something, I guess, in the
right,
beginning. You know what I
right.
mean? And that's what they're running from, is all the pain and stuff. You just kind of talked about it. We kind of danced around it a little bit, but at one point, Henry and his daughters go off to a movie when they're still living in North Carolina. They have a nice little house out in the country. Henry and his daughters go off, and while he's gone, he leaves Lucky there, and they've got a little baby, Chester, who's not even a year old yet, I don't think.
No,
And then so these men and a lady come. I don't know if they're. I thought they were supposed to be from an institution, like an escape from an institution or something. That's what I thought. Maybe I don't know where. They
I
come,
think they were
and
just some good old boys and their mom or something from up the road somewhere.
I
Honestly.
think I think you're right, probably right. But at first, I just thought, because I don't know. I just thought they were. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think
Mhm.
they were some good old boys and their mom come, and they have their way. They rape Lucky, and they kill Chester basically by playing the game cat in the bag, by throwing him like in a sack, in a pillow, basically just throwing him and swinging him around. And the way she just callously at the very end of it tossed him
Yeah,
to the ground. That scene was just like, and
yeah.
so they're and
Did you
Lucky's just
know?
there helpless doing this.
Did you know something was wrong? Like as soon as she came walking up to the house, like as she was.
I thought that was like, I honestly thought, because the show opens up with that, and I remember I was talking to you, and you were very careful not to say anything, because you'd already kind of seen more episodes than me, as you said. I thought it was like a dream
Yeah,
at first. Maybe she was dreaming. I didn't realize that was like a
I
had
thought the
happened.
woman. I thought it was just some racist woman from down the road somewhere. That's what I got from that at first, and even like, and they don't show a lot in the first episode as far as like she just tells. I think you should go, leave now, and that's
She
pretty
says, "Can
much
I
all
have
they
your
show.
boy?" And she
Yeah,
says, "Can I have
yeah.
your boy?" Yeah,
But as soon as they switch over, something happened, because they're on the way out to California now, and it's just the two girls and the parents. So I knew something had happened. I said, "Oh man, they done stole that kid, man." And then when they get to the episode where they're re-showing what happened there, and she said, "My husband will be back any minute now," and she said, "Oh, you mean that man with the two girls that left? We saw him." And as soon as she said "we," I was like, "Oh shit." I mean, oops. I mean, I knew right then, man. I was like, man, it's getting ready to get bad, because she said "we," so now I know that there's more people with her. You know what I mean?
right. See, I thought that. And that's why I guess I'm just so slow. I really thought it was a dream, because the way they were talking, like she was like, "You mean that man?" And she did say, "You mean that man and those two little girls? Oh, they ain't gonna come back for." I thought they had said. I thought that she was saying that they had done something to them. You know what I mean? So she knew they were gonna come back. But that was my point. But and so then when she woke up and they were all there,
Yeah.
I didn't know what I guess I really didn't know. I guess I usually take pride in thinking I'm a couple steps ahead of the show. I thought I was like, oh, okay, that was just a dream. I don't know. She was dreaming about a baby or something. I didn't realize that it happened in the past, and that
Well,
genetic thing was what had
let's
driven
talk
them
about
away.
Henry for a minute, and the things that he had to face too, man. And this is a guy who went to college. He had been in World War II. He served in the military and was mistreated in the military, and he got a great job moving out there, and just was treated like crap, man. and it's all true, it's not a true story, but this is something we can say is inspired by true events,
Right. You could
because
say that.
these things
Yeah.
like this were happening, man. Everything from the way that his boss talked to him, and there's, they show him like squeezing his hands so hard that, he's making his hands bleed from squeezing so hard. And the part where he has to go in the bathroom and get the paper towels and hold over his mouth and just scream to let it out, man. And you just feel for him, man. You really feel for him.
You do, because first of all, hats off to Ashley Thomas, because that's the guy who played Henry. He, I mean, he did a great job acting. I mean, just the way he carried himself afterwards. It's like he had the weight on his shoulders, and the way he would just
Yeah.
walk. And
Yeah.
when he came out of his boss's office after he was demeaning him, all because he had introduced himself when he didn't want him to do that. So that's when the
Yeah.
boss was like, "Oh, okay, you think you're," because the boss's boss liked him and actually was very kind to him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Well,
I think
they were both in the military, so
yeah,
he had
and they
something
had
in
that
common.
exactly. And I think that's what made his boss all of a sudden not take a liking to him. You know what I mean? Him to Henry, and that's why he took him off the projects and stuff. But when he came out of the office, it just was like his whole body language. You know what I mean? It was just like walking
Yeah.
head down. It was just wow.
He
Um,
took him off
to your
the
point,
project so he wouldn't get the bonus. He said, "Why isn't the it in an outlined over here?" And he said, "Well, that's not my job. He said, we work as a team." And I was like, "Come on, man."
mhm.
Just find an excuse to take him off of it. And he was jumping on him because then he found out his dog died. And he's like, "Oh, my dog." It's all about him. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
He's one of those guys that's all about him now. He's like, "Oh, I remember when my dog died." He's like, it's okay. It's okay. He's take this file up there. And of course, Henry just like opens the file and he's like, "Did I tell you to open that?" And it's straight back to it, like, "You're nothing,
I
just do
know.
what I tell you to do."
Yep. But he just felt for him because he felt responsible for what happened to Chester and Lucky. All
Yeah.
he was trying to do was show his daughters a good time and take them to
Yeah.
movies and just have a great day with his girls. And of course, when he's gone, he comes back. His wife's been raped. Son is dead. You know, beaten to death basically, and it's all him. He feels like it's all his fault, and then he's just beaten down the whole show, the whole series. From stuff that on, and the way he's treated. Yet he's not welcome in the neighborhood. He's not welcome in his
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of like he thought he could make the change that they needed to be made, move somewhere new, get over this terrible experience that just happened. And they get there, and the first thing, as soon as they pull into when they first get there, they're looking at everything. They're like, it's not bad, not bad. And as soon as they pull into the neighborhood, everybody's just like staring at them. You know what I mean? So, and you can see on their face, you can just see the smiles just come right off their face
Mhm.
because they know. You know what I mean? It's not different.
Same old. Yeah.
And I caught on to one thing when after what happened to the son and they're sitting on the porch and Henry's just quiet out there. And one of the probably another family member or something that was there kind of like for the after the funeral. And he said, "If it was me, I'd go down." And somebody said, "You wouldn't have done a damn thing." That comes up again later, right after the happy man or the tap dance man tells him the story of the peaches. And Henry says, "If it was me, I wouldn't." He said, "You wouldn't have done a damn thing." Because what are you going to do? I mean,
Yeah.
you would have been killed.
Yeah. Exactly. We've done a lot of talking about the show, but we haven't even really talked about the main the main antagonist of the show. I mean, obviously besides the racists and all of that, but the supernatural antagonist.
Well, we
The
didn't
man.
we didn't mention Miss Vera,
No,
the
we haven't
school
mentioned Miss
teacher.
Vera. Nope. You're absolutely right. We have not mentioned her, but the man in black or the black hat man either.
Yeah, yeah, that was insane. Who gets a whole episode that dedicated to him just so you get the backstory of him, which I'm kind of glad they did that though. Get that
It
backstory from him.
it was not. I actually, I mean, I probably misspoke earlier. I said that was probably the hardest episode for me to watch. I'll say that was the second hardest episode for me to watch. The Lucky episode, what happened to Lucky
Yeah.
Jester. But that's the terrible thing too. That the flashback in the Old West, I guess.
Yeah.
Or not the Old West, but back in the Civil War times, or even
Yeah.
after that. Sometime it looks like the African Americans were coming even then trying to go west. What I mean, and had encountered this. How would you describe this group?
um a little bit on the crazy side of Christian.
Yeah,
That's all I'm gonna say.
there you go. That's probably an accurate description. Took their Christianity a little too overboard with it, I guess, or what have
Yeah.
you. Yeah. Anyway, and so that's terrible that you find out why the curse Compton's even cursed, you know what I mean, the way it is now with that flashback. Terrible things happen in that. But no, he did a good, the Black Hat Man was good. Miss Vera, as you mentioned, I think when she made her first appearance, that in the first episode, uh, that's when I was like, oh man. I actually remember watching it. I was like, oh, I gotta tell Jason. I think that it was that scene
Yeah,
alone
that's
that made me say, all right, I gotta tell Jason about this show. Because that one got me, man, when she was like, Mama. And that
it.
lady just dropped the dog collar and whatever. It was creepy.
It wasn't Mama.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't Mama.
Sure.
And that
Nope.
I like later that the mother still doesn't see her in that one, like an episode or two later. The mother still doesn't see her, but she knows she's there.
Right.
And I don't know, Miss Vera was kind of creepy. She's kind of a, like, if you imagine the nun with the crooked lady from It, and you mix those two together and double as evil as they were, then you're going to get Miss Vera.
Yeah.
Which Miss Vera was just a character in a book that the youngest daughter was reading, right?
Yeah,
Gracie,
that's
I
all it
think,
was.
when that, because she kept saying Miss Vera, and she when she said that, she said Miss Vera taught me a song,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, what's going on, man? And then later, with the little girl started saying the cat in the bag,
Yeah.
and Miss Vera taught me. Like,
Yeah.
man, Miss Vera's got to go.
Yeah, Miss
Quick.
Vera's gonna go for sure. No, it was just lots of different. Everybody was haunted. Each member had their own little personal ghost. You know what I mean? Lucky, I guess, was being haunted by the Black Cat Man. I mean, he was straight coming to her. You
Yeah,
know, Henry had the Tap Dance Man.
yeah.
Then we had the youngest daughter. What was her name? Gracie.
Gracie had Miss
Yeah,
Vera.
Miss Vera, and then
Ruby.
Ruby had was it Doris?
The cheerleader girl. I don't
Yeah,
know.
the cheerleader girl Doris. Her whole thing was that
Did
was
you catch
just,
on to her? Did you know something wasn't right there?
I did. I was like, why? What's going on with this girl? You know what I mean? I definitely, yes, I knew something was going on with
I
her.
I was mad at her. I was mad at that character because I was like, finally, a
Right.
friendly person. And it's like, nope, not friendly at all.
Yep. I knew she was just being too friendly. There was nobody else ever around her. Something was going on.
I was worried that she was just setting her up. I didn't know that she was a spirit or whatever, but at first I was like, oh man, you better not be setting her up to like humiliate her or something like that. That's what I was really afraid of at first. And then like I think it was when they were in the closet and the janitor opened the door, and that's when you find out. They're like, oh
yeah, because he's like, what are you doing in here? Not what are you guys doing in here?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then as soon as he said that, you're like, oh, there you go. And then of course her face.
Yeah. Well, Ruby just looked like some crazy girl going around school talking to herself, sitting down at the lunch table, looking around, talking. I was like, well, you know.
And how terrible was that when she was dancing down in the basement all by herself, doing the cheers and all? Yeah, it was just
But she should have known because the girl, the whatever the what'd you say the girl's name, the cheerleader?
Doris, I believe. I think it was Doris.
Because she's like, come try out for the cheerleaders. I am. You should
Mm-hmm.
definitely try out. And when she was going into the gym, she said, hey, the basketball team's using the gym. We're going downstairs in the basement or whatever it was. Well, yeah, Ruby turned around and looked outside. The cheerleaders were outside practicing, but she
Mm-hmm.
went with a girl anyway. She should have said, well, hold on. The cheerleaders are out there. You know, she
I
should have known.
I think at that point, Ruby's even just needed somebody so badly.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And knew that something was probably not right, but just was just in need of something like that, friendship or whatever it was,
sure.
so badly that just chose to ignore it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because to your point, she did look and saw that something, those cheerleaders were down there, or out in the back of the thing.
It was a creepy moment when she got up there and she started cheerleading with them, and they were all
Yeah.
cheerleading, and then the girls started doing the like contortion stuff, and you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
going bad fast. And
Yeah.
then like you said, she's there by herself. And then well, then later how she goes to the bonfire or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man.
Yeah, it was rough, a lot of rough things, man. But the way you started this whole episode off, I think you're 100% absolutely correct. Little Marvin has made a name for himself with this show, and I think we're gonna have lots of new avenues for horror coming from him.
I hope so. I hope so because I really did enjoy this series, and I hope to see a lot more from him.
Yeah, yeah, you and me both, man. Um, so no, I mean, Jason, if you had to rate this series on a scale of 1 to 10, my friend, or if you want to do, have we discussed this? Are we giving? How is Top Five going to rate their films, man? When we're doing our reviews, let's discuss it right now. Are we doing a 1 through 10? Are we doing 5 stars? Are we doing?
We'll do 5 stars. We'll go with 5 stars on it.
Okay.
And I'd
Oh, top
probably
five.
give
I like it. Yeah, top five,
yeah,
five
yeah.
stars. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll go if I had to give it, I'd probably go with about 4.5 stars.
4.5 stars.
Yeah.
Wow.
I really did enjoy it, man. Like I liked it so much I wanted my wife to watch it. And she at first was I kind of like how you said your wife was like why she didn't like it too much just because she liked how I don't know. It's one of those movies you say you don't want to say that you liked it in a certain way,
Right.
but you
Yeah,
know what I
I know
mean.
what you mean. I do know what you mean. Yeah, because it's
But
so disturbing in some ways, and it's somebody like, you thought this was great.
well, yeah,
You tell the wrong person, like, what's wrong with you?
yeah. What'd you like about it? No,
Yeah.
no. It was it had paranormal, it had gore, it had really good jump movie moments. It had a great story to it. The acting, man, was on key for me. And for me, I think it introduced not only a new writer and director, but I really think that it introduced a new horror icon with the Tap Dance Man. And even with the Man in the Black Hat or the Black Hat Man, and also with Miss Vera, I think all of them are contenders for, icons of horror movies now, especially the Tap Dance Man. He's just
Yeah,
creepy.
the personality to boot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That Freddy Kruegerish comedy in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Would be a good way to describe macabre humor in just terrible
Hmm.
ways. But yeah, but yeah, that hits. What you gonna do? I
Yeah.
can't get that. What you gonna do? Anytime that was gonna happen to you, like, oh, Henry's gonna make a bad move right now.
Yeah.
He's gonna make a real bad move. No, man. But I would go ahead and give it 4 stars, actually. I thought the ride was fantastic. I enjoyed it, but I will say, and I think horror, in a lot of ways, the ending for horror is hard. Um, you
Yeah.
know, in
You
a lot
want it
of
to
these
be a good
anthology
ending? Does
shows.
everybody die? It's one way
Yeah,
or the other.
yeah. And And actually, I've had many a good horror movie though. If everybody dies, I'm like, that's a good. I mean, that's a good ending to me because it wasn't that it was unexpected. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and makes it a good movie. But I'm just saying, I just feel like these people we were almost left without resolution to this story that I had been intently following.
I
That for me, I
I'm
felt like
hopeful
even though
that
we
sometime it'll show up again. They will show up again in another one of the series, and it'll finish that out, and you'll raise yours up 1/4%.
yeah,
So
perhaps I will. And if it had been a season finale, as opposed to a series finale, then I would probably go on to be able to say 4.5 stars. You know what I
sure,
mean? But since this was a quote unquote story, knit, story for these guys, not for these guys, then that's why I'm just like it was a little, especially with we since we so many spoilers, we got to say Allison or Betty's story, I thought ended so crazy too. That's another thing. I hated that her ending because for instance, real quick, we'll cover it. She was kidnapped by the milkman, and then she escapes from the milkman, or he lets her go, and and he shoots and kills her, and that's the end of Betty in like the first 5 minutes of the last
did you
episode.
did you think she was going to get away? I mean, I was like, there's no way he's going to let her go. I mean, he
I,
kidnapped her. I mean, even in the 50s or whatever, this dude's in trouble.
Right. I didn't think. I mean, there was a shot that they had of her running from far off in the distance, and I thought for sure, she was running across the screen. I thought we were going to see a car or a horse come up quickly behind her in that one particular shot. So I didn't think she was going to get away. I just didn't think that would be the end. I didn't think she was going to get away right there. I thought
I
maybe I actually did think she was going to. I did think she was going to get away and somehow make it back to that neighborhood, just so her and Lucky could have this. It just felt unfinished with them.
I would have
You know
rather
what
it
I mean?
happened that way. I knew she
Yeah.
wasn't getting away. I knew there was no way. This dude was crazy. And the way that he kind of told her, he was like, well, if you don't want to be here, I guess you got to go. He didn't say you can leave. He was like, well, if you're not going to be here, I guess you got to go.
Mhm.
And then he wasn't meaning like, well, if you're not going to be here, get out. He's like,
Right.
no, you got to go. I knew when she was running across the field that she's dead. And I was just waiting for the gunshot.
Really?
But I wish there had been a struggle like when she almost got away the one time. I wish she had gone ahead and
I
typical.
will. I will say this. That's another thing that made me upset is that they always pick the weirdest times to do what they're going to do. I feel like I think she could have waited and actually he was going to let her come up to the
Sure,
house.
seduce him, whatever you got to do to live.
You know what I mean? And
Well,
then
whatever, man. Pull that thing
get
out and give him another couple of
yeah,
whacks.
or continue on afterwards. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just that she just stopped and stood there. And I was like, you either run now or you just do something or you continue on or don't do it then.
It was
Wait a
to
couple
me
hours till he gets
that
you to
was
the
like,
house.
yeah, to me that part was like the classic hit him over the head and then you try to step over him to get away. It's
Yeah.
like, no, it's not going to happen, man. You got to, if you're going to go for it, then go for
Yeah.
it. Be all in.
So that's yeah. So I think that's for me. But anyway, all those reasons is why the ending I think it did stick. It did not stick for me, and that's why I'm going with the 4 stars. But other than that, I mean, I do recommend it. Some people might actually like the ending and think that's way everybody's got their own different opinions. But for me,
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you brought that up, that made mine drop. That's why I think I gave it the 4.5 instead of shooting all the way to 5. But
hmm,
the whole part with the flames shooting up on the outside just didn't make sense to me. I don't know why that was. I mean, I guess maybe because the crazy Christians barn burnt down or whatever, but I guess that's why. But I don't know.
I think that
I
was
just
their way
thought
of
that was
keeping everybody
weird.
out.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just thought it was weird.
no, I agree. Well, guys, I think we've said it all. I
You
think we
don't
said
have
it
to keep
all.
watching now. No, it's plenty to it. Definitely watch it. And what well, I don't know what is Prime now, $12.99 a month. It's worth it, man. It definitely is worth it to watch that movie.
Yeah, it is, guys. Or series. Definitely check it out.
Yeah.
It's 10 episodes long, and this is the beginning of a great anthology series. I think that could rival American Horror Story.
Yeah. I mean, get family together, get your
And it's gonna be
racial Uncle Roy to join you.
yeah. Well, the good thing is it's going to be different because it's going to be from an African American point of view. These stories here,
Yeah.
every season will be told in that way.
There are some good, I would say there are some good parts in that movie, good proud parts, I guess, for a black person. I don't know. It's hard for me to say. But if I were black, when Lucky turned around and went over and smacked Betty, and then
Oh, yeah.
walked back up to the door, and the daughter, Ruby, even, or not Ruby, but Gracie, said something to her, like, we beat her ass, mama.
Yeah.
That to me, I was like, hell yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah. No,
understand.
I agree. I agree. It was all that was part. And she was like, "Yeah, mama, go get her, mama."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when Henry walked up to the boss man, the main boss, I was like, good for you, man. The hell with this
Hmm.
other dude. The other dude didn't even want him coming to the party or whatever.
No, he told him to go home and enjoy his half day off.
Yeah.
He wanted
Yeah.
nowhere to be
You
around
wouldn't
there.
like it. I don't even want to be there, is what he said. Like, yeah, whatever, man.
Yep, exactly. So no, yeah. So there were a couple that did shine through, but as a whole, it was terrible times for them.
Yeah,
So,
it wasn't enough to make it a feel good
yeah,
come out of from
yeah.
watching it movie, but
Not indeed. No, indeed. Well, guys, I think that's it for us today. Jason, have we said anything else? We left anything out, my friend?
no, I think that I don't want to add any more to it. I could sit here and talk about this movie for a long time, but
It was
you
really
know,
good. It was really good. We definitely recommend it. So,
yeah.
guys, definitely check it out on Amazon Prime. We will be back soon with our next episode, where we are going to be talking about top 5 scary movies, obviously, that were inspired by true stories.
Yes.
Well, all right, my friends, listen, go ahead, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let us know what you think about the show. Leave some comments if you've seen it. Did we leave anything out? If you hated it, let us know. The show, them, that is, not us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've got that so the bad messages won't come up. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us know what you think about the ending, if you think it should have been different, or if any, like you said, Lee, if any parts that you thought could have been different, or whatever, just comment, let us know what you thought.
Indeed. Jason, it's been a pleasure as always, my friend.
Yeah, Lee, always, man. Always.
All right. Take care, guys.
Ooh, I seen that face before. And trouble come right behind. What you gonna do? 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 What you gonna do?